Hello and welcome to another unboxing video here at Fort Nerd. Today we're digging into Tyrants of the Underdark, a board game from Gale Force 9 featuring characters and concepts from Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons. I've left the shrink on, let's get into it. I know that Tyrants of the Underdark is an area control game, and there's some elements of deck building. So I'm really curious to see what the components look like. This is the second edition of the game, and I know the first edition was very popular. It won a bunch of awards, so I'm really curious to see if there's any differences and how the game's going to play. What I know from Gale Force 9 is that the components are always really high quality, so I'm expecting to see that once again. One of the 100 things that I think I appreciate most from Gale Force 9, as somebody who owns a bunch of their board games, is the boxes are all the same size. So they actually fit really nicely on your shelf. We're going to discard this shrink. Future Gary can worry about cleaning up the shrink. And now we are going to open the box. There's something so satisfying about opening up a board game for the first time. Okay. Let's see. Alright, so obviously there's a rule book, full color. It looks pretty straightforward. The game, I know, has medium to high level of complexity, but not so much complexity that newer players won't be able to adapt. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays, but the rulebook doesn't look too onerous. It looks pretty well laid out as far as I can tell. It's only 18 pages, with the final scoring being included on the last page of the book, which is a really nice feature actually, because it means you're not going to have to go through and look at all of the go through all the pages to figure out how to do final scoring or game end. We're going to look at the board last because I'm going to reorient my camera position for that. So for now, we're going to put the board off to the side. Ooh, look at all these cardboard tokens. I imagine that each of these represent the factions so that you can place your tokens where your factions are under control. And this is going to be very satisfying to unpunch. I don't know about you, but I love unpunching some cardboard board game tokens, that's for sure. And these are representing, obviously, the four factions in the game. This is obviously a track to keep all of the cards organized. As I mentioned, there is a deck building element in the game, so keeping all of that nice and tidy is really handy. It doesn't look like the game is going to take up too much table space, which I really appreciate either. Alright, so fairly straightforward player boards. They only have one side. They give you all of the rules on it, and then there are some of the elements we've seen of player boards before, that you keep things off to the side in different positions. Something that we've seen in Spartacus. So each of these represents the four factions: Mizrim, Zorlarn, Bainray, and the Barrison Delargo. It's very sturdy cardboard. As you can see, they aren't doing any short shrift on the quality of the components, as Gale Force 9 doesn't shrimp on that. A score sheet, which is pretty handy. Obviously, there are apps that can do this, but having a few of these in paper is good too. I'm going to turn off the light so that you can see this documentation a little better. It just gives you a description of what each of the things are. Also, there are multiple decks of cards. These are obviously villain cards that you can use to enhance your abilities. So we will dive into these decks and see. There looks to be some other decks here. I wonder why they're separated. But let's check out a deck. Oh, good. They made it easy for us to figure out. Alright. When you're doing these unboxing videos, it's always embarrassing to be unable to get the shrink wrap off without damaging the cards, which I unfortunately just did. The cards are glossy and they're pretty nice. So what I'm noticing is each of these has a separate deck number. So you can see here that this is one of 40. So I'm assuming that there are going to be 40 cards in this deck. The other decks all have 40 as well. So I wonder if each of these represents the faction as the standard. So if we went back and looked, I wonder if the symbology would be related to the faction. Having never read the rules, I'm just guessing. But the quality of the art is, of course, great. No surprise there. Beholderkin. Oh, look at all these beholders. Wow. Cranium rats, Quagoths, Cloakers, Brainwash. Oh, that's not great. Aboleth. Ooh, don't screw with them. Let's open up another deck. I want to see what else is in here because I'm very curious about this deck. It features a white on the front page, so I'm assuming that this deck is going to be related to undead. Oh yeah, because these are all aberrations. There we go. These are all aberrations. There's more undead here, and there's drow here. So let's dive into an undead deck and see what we can see. I'm going to take this out of frame for a second so I don't embarrass myself again, but hoping that I can do this without using my teeth. I'm going to try and do this fairly effectively. And I got in there with scissors, hoping that's going to work. So these are minions that you can buy, I'm thinking. Minions that you can buy to help control the various areas in the Underdark. Because now that I've flipped the deck over, you can see that they're minion cards. Obviously, they're drawn from the different types of creatures, so there might be an element of purchasing in there, and so more Death Knights, a Minotaur Skeleton, etc., etc. The costs and whatnot are clearly related, and then the powers are on the card as well. So let's take a look at, so these are more minion cards. More minion cards. So this is another undead, and oh, here are some humans. I'm curious to see what's in here. Alright, I'm taking it out of frame again. Apologize, y'all. I want to do this as effectively as possible, and I'll be honest, I will embarrass myself if I do it improperly. So I'd rather do it the right way off screen without damaging any of the components. So we've got some humans here. This is an Eternal Flame Cultist. There's a few of those. Oh, it looks like these might all be related to the elementals. So this is fire. Crushing Wave is related to water, obviously. Ol Hydra is related to air. There's another air elemental. And then Black Earth Cultist, so we're going to see some earth elementals here. Yep, exactly. Okay. I'm going to try and keep the piles separate so that I know where everything goes. I don't want to get everything confused. And these are listed as core cards. So I'm assuming that all of the decks that the players start with are going to be drawn from this set of cards. So I'd love to dig into this and see what you're getting and what we're going to be able to start with. I am looking for the tab which will allow me to open this. Because I did actually damage that last deck. Future Gary can worry about the garbage. As you can see, it's not my primary concern. So we're just going to put it over here. Actually, I'm going to throw it on the floor. You can't see that. So we've got some Priestesses of Lolth. House Guards. Drow. More House Guards. So they look like they're going to be pretty simple cards that are going to add abilities. Yeah, and these ones are starters. So these are going to be the cards that you're going to start the game with. soldiers. Insane outcast. I don't love the use of that word, but it is what it is. And more outcasts. Okay, so it looks like there's lots of cards that you're going to be able to dig into. Now I'm going to make myself some room. We've seen most of the card decks and what each of them are representing. Blackguards, Dragon Cultists here. I'm going to clear the table because I really want to do a good job showing you what the board looks like, because they always do a good job of giving you a really nice board layout. So let's dive into this board and see what's what. Obviously, it's based on Dungeons & Dragons, which is a very profitable partnership, I think, for Gale Force 9 and for D&D, because they've been making minis and stuff for Dungeons & Dragons for quite a little bit of time. So obviously, each of these represents places in the Underdark. Menzoberranzan, the capital city of the Underdark. Gauntlegrim, places we've seen in some of the books. We are going to have to be controlling these different areas to score points using our minions to do that. I'm going to tilt the camera up a little bit so you can see more. Limited in terms of what I can show you in my frame here, but it's a nicely square board, and there's lots of opportunities for you to put things down. Is there anything else that I see here that I'm not familiar with any of the other locations other than Menzoberranzan and Gauntlegrim, but I haven't read too many of the Forgotten Realms books, but I'm really excited to get into this game. As somebody who's never played it before, when I do my review, I'm going to talk about how easy it is for somebody who has never played games to understand how to read the rules, because I think that's an important thing. So I'm going to get my girlfriend Allie to read the rules and explain to me how to play. Thank you very much for watching my Tyrants of the Underdark unboxing video. I look forward to seeing you again. If you like what you saw or you've seen other videos, please consider liking and hitting that notification bell and subscribe so that you can see more content as it happens. We've got board game stuff and RPG stuff